Welcome everyone. Welcome to the introduction of the digital platform Communicating Mission. As you know, all these events that we are going to plan are actually preparatory events for the first international meeting on communication in religious life, which is going to take place from November 27th to November 30th. The meeting is going to be free online, and you will soon have more information concerning participation opportunities. Now, today, we are going to present our platform that is aimed for helping the international meeting, but it is also going to serve as a platform for those who work in communication in religious life, both in the male and female world, also for the future. We're going to also present it for you, and you will see it has a part in which you can find materials for us and for you to better carry out our mission for communication. But today we are going to talk also about another platform, which is called the Libera, and that we are going to use. It is something that it is not ours, but we will be introduced to it. And it is going to enable us to inhabit the new information and communication technologies at the very service of the digital world. That is, we're going to start, and some of you will soon receive between today and tomorrow a communication and a formal invitation through which we will start a process of collective intelligence and participation in order to discern together about the topic, the speakers, the results of our process. We are going to discern together everything concerning the international meeting on communication, and we decided that we didn't want to make any proposal from the UISG office, but we wanted to start this listening process for those who work in the communication in religious life. And we're going also to listen to our experts in this debate. So if you are going to receive this invitation, we kindly request you to respond and participate. Now it is a pleasure for me to introduce you lay and religious people working directly and indirectly in our communication office and who enable everything that we have been organizing in the present and in the future for the ordinary life of UISG and for the international meeting. I'm going to introduce them not in order of importance, but the first one I want to present you is Navoika Mocek Gallina. She works in the UISG communication office, and she has been working there for almost 2 years. And it is a pleasure for me to also introduce you another lay woman, Miriam Di Bartolo, working for more than 1 year in the USG communication. They actually carry out different tasks, but we are a team. We have also Sister Therese Rad, who is now supporting and helping us for the technical issues and has been working here for many years, from the very beginning, actually, of our activities. And it is also a pleasure for me to introduce you some volunteers, because without them, this meeting would have been really complex. And these are sisters who study communication or will study communication and are interested in working in a communication office. Here is Sister Fatima Tirisha. She's Indian. Here she is. She has been working with us for some time, and she studies in the Pontificia Università Santa Croce in Rome. We also have Sister Kinga Latocha studying at the Università Santa Croce, and she's Polish. And last but not least, because she just joined us recently, we have Sister Alice Carlegari. She's Italian, and she is helping us to map the communication reality of a religious life. Now, I believe our sisters really deserve a great round of applause because their work is really huge in our office. So thank you very much, all of you. Now, I believe we can now start our meeting, and we chose to start this meeting in a very peculiar way. We are always very centered on communication, developing technical tools. Instead, those of us who work in communication develop a spiritual connection. We are daughters and sons of a God who is communication. And we also chose to have an initial reflection with Sister Paula Jordao, who is the coordinator of UISG formation. She is a member of the Verbum Dei Fraternity community, and she is an expert of words. She lives and inhabits words. And now we are in her hands to enter in a more contemplative and spiritual orientation, giving real meaning to our mission. Thank you, Paula. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Patrizia. I will speak in English. Thank you for your words. And as we launch these platform, if you say it in English like this, we ask ourselves, why? Why do we communicate? And we would like to give the meaning and the frame to our mission of communication. So good morning, good afternoon to everyone. And I would like you to ask yourselves and in prayer as well to ask God, why? Why do we communicate? And the first answer I think we can get is we communicate because God is communication. At the beginning of the Gospel of John, we can read, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. The Word was with God in the beginning, and the Word was made flesh and dwelt among us. There are many translations into these words, word, logos, and also we could say that God is relationship, is communication. We believe in a God that communicates, that wants to create communion through communication. And God communicated himself, herself in Jesus, in our human history, through words, silences, gestures. God, who is communion, is also communication, wants to be revealed. So that's the first reason why we need to communicate, because we need to communicate God. Then we communicate because Jesus, God made flesh, communicated also. I've put there so many words that we can read in the Gospels of what Jesus did, spoke, communicated. So he touched, he listened, he remained silent, he cried out, he carried the cross, he died, he rose, and he sent us his Holy Spirit. I do invite you, as we communicate, to read Jesus' communication in the Gospels. It's fascinating, and to contemplate it. His steps through the land of Israel reveals to us that in each encounter, his great desire was to communicate. And the question is, what did you, Jesus, want to communicate us? And I'm sure we would find so many answers and receive so many intuitions. Jesus wanted to communicate a transformative experience as he was grounded on the love he had experienced from the Father. So much so that we can summarize his life in the words Jesus himself taught us. I have loved you just as the Father has loved me. Remain in my love. This sentence, it's such a ground place for our communication. We communicate because we have experienced Jesus' love that communicates the Father's love. And we communicate because we want to remain in his love, and we want other people also to remain in his love. And we communicate because Jesus sends us to communicate. This passage that it's so well known and it's dear to our hearts says that Jesus went up to a mountainside and called those he wanted. And here we are, those he wanted to call. And we come to him. He appointed 12 to be with him. So we communicate because we are called to be with Jesus, to listen, to experience his words, his presence. And Jesus sent them out to preach. Jesus sends us out to communicate with power over evil, with power over the things that are in our world that are not as God wants. So today, Jesus continues to call us. He continues us to come to him and to be sent to announce with power. So we have to say that communication is an integral part of the Christian life. If we are Christians, as we try to be the best version of ourselves according to what God calls us to be, we are to communicate. To follow Jesus means to communicate his gospel, his life. So to all of us who have encountered Jesus on the way, Jesus entrusts us the mission of being witnesses of his personal love, of his personal experience, of the communitarian experience of his love among us. And Jesus calls us to communicate our own story, not something else, not something different, not something away from us, but to communicate what he has done in our lives, in our past, in our present, that opens us to our future. And we communicate resurrection. It is true that we are immersed in the experience of suffering and death. So many people around us in our world, and we cannot forget that. We are deeply rooted in our communication in the realism of human life that is full of beauty and vulnerability. But visiting the passion, our own passion, the passion of so many brothers and sisters, remaining near the empty tomb of so much suffering in our world, we wait for Jesus' presence, for Jesus' unfailing hope of resurrection. We are to communicate what God makes us see through faith, through hope, and through love, even in the midst of the difficulties of life. But we are to be bearers of hope to our world through our communication. This is the only way in which we can translate and communicate God's strength. Because, and we are celebrating this in our Easter season, because God's love and human love is stronger than death. We communicate because the Spirit empowers us. So in every situation of our life, we need to be filled, surrounded, transformed, gathered, and sent out in communion. We communicate because the Spirit will give us new languages, will express in us new forms of imagination, and through our communication will transform the world from within. So I would like now to finish these moments of looking at the spirituality of communication with a song, which we have done here at UISG, and is also the song that will accompany us in this encounter, that tells us and invites us to communicate with love, with truth, grounded in the certainty that God is the one that communicates with us and sends us out to communicate. We are telling you what we've touched and seen of the Word of God made flesh in Jesus. Jesus. He's called our names, we give him our lives, we follow his steps, for he is guiding us, guiding us. Por eso comunicamos lo que nos da vida, porque Dios se manifestó sulla tua parola, getteremo le reti, parleremo al mondo intero di te. Nos comunicamos lo que nos da vida, porque Dios se manifestó sur ta parole. Nous jetterons les filets, nous annoncerons. We communicate what life is about, for God reached out to us. Let your word, O Lord, and your word, O Lord, we would tell the land, we would tell the whole world about you. Thank you very much, and let's communicate.
Grazie Paola, grazie di
Thank you,
cuore.
Paula. Thank you very much for these words that really lead us towards a deeper meaning for our mission. But as I was listening to the song, I was very moved because the confirmation that our work can only be a community work, a work that generates community and derives from community, is so strong. And I believe that this international meeting is indeed the fruit of a joint and community work. Now, the topic that Pope Francis chose this year for the World Communication Day that we are going to celebrate in a month is talking with our art. And the question that I would like to leave you after this moment with Paula is, how do we live this in the digital world? How do we live our spirituality? How do we communicate our spirituality?
C'è un intellettuale che riflette molto sul mondo digitale che si chiama
An
Byung-Chul
expert, Byung-Chul has been reflecting long on digital communications. He is a Korean intellectual and says,
L'intelligenza artificiale sta
artificial intelligence can calculate fast, but it lacks spirit, and for the purposes of calculation, moving would only be a disturbance. Instead, we want to be moved deeply. We want to move people, move them towards something, and do it together. Now, it is a pleasure for me to leave the floor to Miriam Di Bartolo, who is going to explain for us the platform on which she, together with our volunteers, has been working so much. Thank you, Miriam. Thank you, Patrizia. Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. I'm going to speak in Italian, and before introducing to you our digital platform that we developed as UISG for this international meeting, I would like to focus on the objectives on the international meeting, which illustrates which illustrate us why this digital platform is a tool to reach this goal. The first of our objectives of the International Meeting for Communication for Religious Life is nurturing the culture of communication by also mapping the reality of communication in religious life, strengthening networking and collaboration, and improving communication skills. Now, this is the reason why the digital platform, which is available in 5 languages, is one of the tools that we decided to use. The digital platform is a website, is a page of the website of UISG that responds to our desire to create a digital handbook of communication by overcoming the barriers of printed paper and so making it accessible to everyone in whatever language at whatever time. The main objective, therefore, is that of providing this tool to the communicators of religious life because today we are called to face many important challenges and also to strengthen our skills. The main sessions of our platforms are the e-news, events, and multimedia. And at the moment, my colleague is showing us, sharing her screen with you, is the home page. Here you will find all information concerning the first international meeting of communication for religious life. And in this very session, you will also find the information, the inscription form. The main other pages are the events and multimedia. And in the news section, you will find all the news from the world of communication and religious life. In the page concerning events, you will find everything about formation, both from UISG and other institutes working with webinars and courses on communication for religious life. And in the section of multimedia, which is probably the most inhabited and dynamic, you will also find the possibility of having resources for communication in religious life. And in this section, you will also be able to choose the tags, categories, and languages for the resources you will have. Now, every category will enable you to choose the type of tags to use, and this is going to help us to gather increasing information concerning communication for religious life today. For example, social media, artificial intelligence, religious marketing, and so on. Our invitation, since this is a collective work joining many different people, is that of continue nurturing this handbook for communication in religious life. And so we want to invite you to signal, to tell us every content that you believe are relevant or important for communicators in religious life. So please remember, send us, write us to our email address, which you can find in our chat here, every content that you find relevant for communication in religious life. Thank you for the work that we can do together. Thank you, Miriam, for having introduced us to this platform. I believe that many of us remember that in 2018 as USG, we published a handbook for communication in religious life, and this is actually a more digital tool, not a paper printed tool, which is going to be available for everyone who needs it. This is not a platform, this is not a passive proposal. This is actually an invitation. This morning, a sister sent me a reflection she wrote concerning a best practice they are having in their congregation. Now we're going to publish this text because we also need to share best practices, something that maybe works for me can also work for others. And so we want to have a platform of common learning, shared learning. So we really expect you to give us some observations, remarks, also concerning something that doesn't work. So please write us in whatever moment because we can still change our platform. We are still testing it. Now I'm very happy to leave the floor to Haim Gomez Hulla from the platform the Libera, who is going to explain us the objectives and the functioning of the platform that we are going to use to build together the topics, the organization of the international meeting. Jaime, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Patricia. I will speak in Spanish. I will share my screen as well. Very well. So, as Patricia said, we will use this platform, a platform that is based on cooperative intelligence. I am a co-founder of the Libera, and I am one of the people in charge of a center that has as a focus the cooperation between people and groups. It is quite clear for us that intelligence should be shared, because when we work together, we can achieve more, and it is important to engage in participation, improving the quality of our conversations as a group. As a group, it is important to think the way in which we reflect as a group when we have to deal with a very important topic and we have to take decisions. It is complicated, and this method of cooperative intelligence is a way for us to improve the quality of these efforts, for us to improve and set the stage for the future. We call it IC, and it is based on 4 pillars. We are in a moment of huge transformations in which we see very complex projects, transversal initiatives with many actors, with different profiles, and this complexity makes conversations very complicated. So it is important for us to probe into what we need to know to navigate this path as companies, as organizations, as no-profit organizations as well. At first, we thought that leaders were supposed to be in charge of decisions and should be the one with knowledge in their hands. But actually, that's not the case. We know that there is a lot of knowledge in the organizations that we could leverage, and there is a third part of knowledge, useful knowledge, that is outside the organization as well. Think about risk as well. The UISG has got a lot of third parties involved. And this helps us broaden our perspective, and this is very important for our mission. Every person could contribute to our goal, and it is important to work with this method that is based on shared efforts. We know that there is a challenge because there are many people, and it is quite complicated for us to maximize the interactions so that can be very effective. There are obstacles that we should take into account when we deal with this method. We know that today groups talk in this way. We've got face-to-face meetings with limitations as time and space. We've got Zoom conferences in which there are a lot of us, but only a few of us can talk. Then, as digital tools, we've got email, chats, Slacks, Google Meets, for example. And we know that there is a common problem. Conversations follow the timeline, the chronological outline, and we focus on a topic, on a specific topic that it is on schedule. It is very hard to distinguish good topics from bad topics, and the structure of the conversation is quite pure. Then we've got the surveys. We can get to a lot of people, but it is only a way for us to gather information without interruptions between people. As we say in many occasions, surveys can have a lot of cooperative intelligence and also a lot of silliness at the same time, because it is very hard to distinguish between the two of them. And it is very important for us to focus on this platform because it is a way to improve the quality of our key conversations. We know that cooperative intelligence is a kind of synodality, and it is very important to focus on the idea of our timeline. This is a common conversation with an email address, with a chat, people talk, but topics are not well structured. And it is hard for us to reach decisions, conclusions. It is complicated. So, thanks to the Libera, thanks to this process, we can create structured conversations based on the goals we want to reach. It is not the same when we want to establish priorities or when we want to brainstorm some ideas, we want to create some clusters of ideas. It is different as well when we want to distinguish quality of information of a web page, or when we want to take decisions. So it is very hard to keep on navigating this process, and we want to create a situation in which we can work according to the meaning and to the goal that we've got. Topics should be based on a specific order. I don't have much time, so I won't enter into the specific details, but please see that we've got the webpage in different languages. We've got a series of videos for you to see the way in which these modules works. And it is important to think also about added values. These modules can help us understand those who promote conversations. The goals is to be present always. When we open a chain of emails, we know that it is very hard to keep on thinking about the goals because topic can change, and then it is very important for us to focus on the duration. We know that it is very important to set the duration for us to stick to the goal of our communication. And then there is the importance of establishing parameters and to have some kind of alerts for us to stress the importance of what we want to achieve. Then we would like to mention the analysis for us to establish an outline of the goals that we want to achieve. The Libera is a tool for us to count with the participation of more people, gathering the knowledge of people in less time, optimizing, leveraging on our consensus for us to take decisions together. And then it is a way for us to be protagonists of change. It is a way to leverage our synergies and to engage in conversations that help us set the stage ahead. So This is what I wanted to share with you. If you've got questions, feel free to ask. I had just a little time, so if you want, please feel free to visit our website to probe into this platform. Thank you very much.
Muchísimas gracias, Jaime.
Thank you, Jaime.
Nosotros hemos comprado,
We
digamos, una
bought
parte,
a part.
alquilado una página WISG de Libera.
We now have a page with UISG Libera for us to start with our brainstorming for the international meeting, but not only for the international meeting, because for us it is very important to think about what there will be next. This is paramount, not only as UISG, it is paramount for us all. Thank you very much, Jaime. I'm sure there will be plenty of questions. Thank you, and thank you for the invitation. Today or tomorrow, we will send the invitation to 60, 80 people, which are invited to participate in this brainstorming process. Those who won't be invited can participate, of course. They can send us an email and we will read and welcome more ideas. Italian.
Let's move to English. Now, I realize that we probably overwhelmed you with information. I don't know how you feel, but this was really a launch. And before closing the meeting, I would like to ask you, how do you feel? How does everything that we listen to echo in you? How does it make you feel? If it makes you fearful or emotional, how does it resonate in you? I'm leaving you some seconds to listen to yourself, and then if you want, you can resonate in the chat, or we can also have the time for some very quick intervention. So just a couple of seconds to listen to ourselves.
Se qualcuno desidera fare un commento.
If anyone wants to briefly make a comment live, you can use the reactions and raise your hands. We have time for one or two interventions. Thank you to those who are writing in the chat. And I would like to also ask a very short question to Jaime. A sister is wondering, what are the safety tools that the Libera applies to protect sensitive data of meetings? Jaime, the floor is yours.
Sobre el tema de seguridad, ¿no? De la plataforma.
Sí.
Vale.
Safety. Wow.
Bueno, si queréis, vuelvo a compartir.
I will share my screen one more time. We have got a section on security. This topic is ISO certified. Can you see it? Here we've got all the certifications, ISO 27001, for example. And truth be told, we invest a lot in safety and security. We have got a specific space in our platform that is separated, in which we can have conversations. We've got tests that are carried out periodically to check and double check that safety is working. we've got a very important tool in this sense. There is the opportunity of multi-factor authentication. We actually have got all possible safety tools. If you've got specific questions, you feel free to ask. This is our safety policy. But truly, the Libera is safe. We work with many different organizations, and here you can see some of them. We've got banks, Caritas Spain. We worked with many different organizations also in the public administration that is very strict in terms of safety and security. So for us, this topic is very important. I hope that was clear enough.
Creo que te pueden también contactar.
Thank you, Jaime. I think that they can send an email to you as well if they want, and people that that are going to be invited by
Let's
the
move to
USD
English.
can
Thank you
ask
for all
questions
your
as well.
comments in the chat. I can really feel listening, reading the chat, a real degree of curiosity and enthusiasm, but also confusion. But confusion is linked to the fact that we need to experiment. We cannot talk theoretically of communication. We are going to a close, and we started with a spiritual intuition, and we're going to end with a spiritual intuition. But before that, I would like to leave some couple of seconds to Sister Alice to helping us remember about this mapping we have been doing. And if any one of you working in communication at the general or provincial level, if you didn't receive this communication, please write us. Alice, the floor is yours. Now, I would like to just tell you that the reason why we want to have this mapping, and as I was drafting the survey, that there are two main reasons for that. To get to know the situation worldwide, but also to get to know ourselves as institutes. There are many questions, but they are very fast. There are multiple answer questions, and if you stop to answer this survey, you will also be able to understand who you are as an institute. And with these questions, you can understand if you are lacking something or if you are doing something differently from others. And it is important for us to map as institutes your work. Maybe there is something in my work that I do specifically, which I could also offer to others, and given names to our initiatives is also important to help others to improve. The surveys are for the responsible persons of the communication, and remember they are in 5 languages, so everybody can answer in their own language. We really want to ask you to work for us and help us in our initiative worldwide. Thank you, Sister Alice, for your help and support also in reading this data. And we will also involve other people in the reading of this data. Mapping is just a tool for a wider reflection and for a deeper change. Now, I would like also to thank you for our comments, and let us come to the close of this meeting. I would like to remind you the vision that we chose for this international meeting, which gives us the meaning of what we have been doing. We communicate the heart of female religious life. We share our spirituality, charism, and mission, as well as our commitment to build a more fraternal, just, and peaceful world, particularly with the most vulnerable people. I believe this is the very meaning of our communication. We started with a moment of spirituality, and we will also end with a contemplative moment, which Sister Therese will lead us in. I want to remind you that communication will have a separate space on our platform because we want to focus on our work. We don't want to sell products. We want to build communion. Thank you very much for your participation. I didn't introduce myself. I am Patrizia Morgante and the responsible person of the UISG Communication Office. Sister Therese, lead us, please. Good morning, everyone. Let us conclude our meeting for today with the icon of our international meeting on communication. Here it is. Now this icon has been created by Sister Eleanor. Sister Eleanor created this icon inspired by the miracle of Jesus fishing. This icon speaks about the topic of our meeting, the topic which is, at your word, Lord, we will cast our nets. It is a symbol for diversity, for our mission, for communion, for the trust that disciples had in the word of Jesus, but also our trust to be able to do something beautiful and good. At the center of this icon, we can see the net, and we all know that the net is a representation, is a symbolic representation of the communication network. It is also a picture of solidarity because a net actually unites. The net is also a symbol of hope. And on this net, you can see there are these hands that are not stepping behind, but they are moving on, they are moving ahead. Now we are at the presence of the Lord, contemplating this icon, the beauty of these colors. Let us invoke the grace of the Lord to be able to follow him in this digital world. Let us cast our nets in the lake of life, in the lake of digital communication. Let us sail together towards what is beautiful, what is good, what is true. Let us put our hands together, expressing our interculturality, our diversity, and our uniqueness. Let us feel in this icon the movement. We are in a movement. Let us be in this movement. Let us ask the Lord to enable us to feel his presence, nourishing us, supporting us. Let us also ask him to help us bear witness of his compassion in this world, in this agitated, conflicting world, to be witnesses of his peace, of his joy, and above all, of his justice. I am going to ask you now to have a moment of silence in ourselves, to be able to share in the chat, if you want, a word or a sentence which echoes in you from this icon.
Grazie, Suor Teresa, grazie a
Thank you,
Suor
Sister Therese. Thank you, Sister Eleanor, for having dreamed this icon for our sake. Thank you for the beautiful words that we are giving her as a gift. Sister Eleanor actually preaches by means of her heart. Sister Eleanor,
We would like to
we're
be
going
one.
to open.
Yes. Let us be one in the journey that our church is walking this time. The challenge of synodality. The image also calls for that. Together, in communion, in participation, we journey together in God's mission. May the light of God, which I expressed in my drawing, in my icon, in the icon, may this light, may we relish this light. May we allow this light to continue to permeate our journey, to communicate truth, love, compassion, justice, peace. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to communicate through my art, my sacred art.
Thank you very much, sister. We are very grateful for sharing your art with us, with all of us, with the religious life. Thank you very much. Grazie Teresa per averci accompagnato in questo momento molto bello. Grazie
Thank you,
a
Therese, for having led us. Thank you, Miriam, Navoika, Kinga, Fatima, for having organized with me this meeting. Our next meetings are going to be in May. On May 24th, we will have a meeting for superior generals to help us build together a culture of communication. We know that sometimes the relationships between superiors and communicators are not very easy, and we want to give them a space for them to give a name to these problems and help us reflect. On May 29th, we will have a webinar concerning communicating by means of an event. How do we communicate when we organize an event? These are our next meetings. You will receive communication concerning that. We will have other meetings in the following months. Thank you also to Sister Alice for having helped us. Thank you also, Jaime. Thank you all for your participation. Have a great day or have a great night. Thank you very much.